The following episode depicts acts of violence and describes in detail reported speculation and alleged whereabouts of a missing person and unproven reports of actions taken by family members, friends, and other relations. Listener discretion is advised. It's mid-September 1982. The summer is winding down in Worcester, and 27-year-old William Garlick and 33-year-old John V.J. Joyce Jr. hop into William's 1980 black Corvette for a quick trip up north to Maine. But they are not heading to Vacationland for a late summer getaway. The two men are on their way to collect a debt of $22,000, likely running an errand to collect money owed to a Worcester-born drug kingpin. The day after they leave Worcester, Maine Police find William's Corvette abandoned outside of a shopping mall in Bangor. William and John were never seen or heard from again.
Unsolved Worcester is brought to you by the following sponsors. Follow the crowd through the doors of Donut Homies and say hi to Haley Noel, the donut queen of Worcester's Canal District. This month, the specialty donut shop features special flavors like birthday cake and salted caramel cheesecake. Donut Homies is open inside the Worcester Public Market at 160 Green Street every Wednesday through Sunday at 11 a.m. Online ordering with delivery and pickup options is available at donuthomies.com. Follow Donut Homies on Facebook and Instagram for monthly menu drops, specials, and more. Donut Homies, everything sweeter with the homies.
Welcome to Unsolved Worcester. I'm your host, Dan Yeager. In today's episode, we share the unsolved missing person cases of John V.J. Joyce Jr. and William Garlick in September 1982. Two of the 10 unsolved missing person cases we explore this season in Unsolved Worcester. John and William's disappearance plays out like a major motion picture. John was the right-hand man of Arnold Katz, the son of Worcester mayor and one of New England's most notorious organized crime leaders, and the orchestrator of one of the largest drug rings in the country. John collected money for Katz, and on the morning of September 13th, 1982, John insisted that his friend William give him a ride up to Alton, Maine, to collect a $22,000 debt. Unsolved Worcester will take a deep dive every Tuesday and Thursday into the unsolved murders and missing person cases under investigation by the Worcester Police Department's Detective Unit. We will be looking to the past, to missing person cases that date as far back as the early 1970s and 80s. The most important question this season is, where are they? The approach to Unsolved Worcester is this. Shine a light on each of these cases, put a life behind each missing person's name, provide a timeline of events and important details, and ask questions that still need to be answered. Our goal is to remind residents of the Worcester area, both past and present, that there are dozens of unsolved homicides and missing persons cases that need resolution. We hope we can be the spark needed to solve a case. To understand what might have happened to John V.J. Joyce Jr. and William Garlick, we have to understand who they may have been working for at the time of their disappearance. Arnold Arnie Katz a former Worcester restaurant owner and well-known drug kingpin in the Northeast. The Drug Enforcement Agency described Katz as one of the largest cocaine distributors in the country. In June 1981, Katz was arrested by federal officers in his Porsche while getting off the Massachusetts Turnpike in Westboro. Katz had $300,000 on him. Later that year, Katz pleaded guilty to charges of conspiracy to possess and distribute 286 pounds of cocaine worth upward of $26 million and willfully distributing 86 pounds of cocaine. He was set free on $1 million bail. In November 1981, Katz received a maximum sentence of 30 years in prison, divided into 2 concurrent terms of 15 years, for his part in running a major cocaine and marijuana ring throughout New England. In early February 1982, Katz's 30-year jail sentence was reduced to time served in exchange for cooperation with the U.S. Attorney's Office. He was placed in the Federal Witness Protection Program. Katz was 35 years old when he made his deal with the federal government. Katz is the son of former Worcester Mayor Israel Katz. In the 4 weeks leading up to his arrest, Katz dealt more than $10 million in cocaine. But this story isn't about Arnie Katz. It's about Katz's right-hand man, John V.J. Joyce Jr., and his friend, William Garlick. John V.J. Joyce Jr. was 33 years old when he went missing in September 1982. John was 5 feet 10 inches, weighed around 185 pounds, with brown hair and blue eyes. A recent motorcycle crash left John with hip and hand injuries and a scar on his abdomen. He grew up in Worcester, but had been living in Boston when he went missing. In 1978, John was arrested in Princeton with Arnold Katz on charges of cocaine possession and conspiracy. But the charges wouldn't stick. The charges were dropped after the court ruled the search warrant used to make the arrests were faulty. When Arnold Katz was arrested in the summer of 1981, a federal grand jury in San Francisco, California, indicted John on charges of cocaine distribution and conspiracy. John became a fugitive from the law and managed to avoid arrest for more than 6 months until he was picked up by federal narcotics agents in Miami, Florida. John had been living under an assumed name. Following his arrest, John was held at the North Dade Detention Center in Miami. According to a report in the Telegram and Gazette, an affidavit described John as Katz's right-hand man. He would collect money on debts owed to Katz, because Katz wouldn't collect any money himself. The report says John carried a high-caliber handgun and a compact Israeli machine gun when he went around collecting money. Time of his disappearance, John was out on bail during his appeal for his conviction of drug charges stemming from the indictment in California. It's believed William Garlick got dragged into this mess by John V.J. Joyce because of Joyce's recent motorcycle accident. John asked William to give him a ride to Alton, Maine to collect on a $22,000 debt. Didn't hurt that William owned a 1980 black Corvette. The 2 men were on a mission to collect drug money, and they would be driving there in style. William may have been in the wrong place at the wrong time. William is from Worcester. When he went missing, he was 27 years old. He was married to his wife, Barbara. The couple lived together near Webster Square. When William disappeared, Barbara was pregnant. In late April 1983, Barbara gave birth to a daughter. William is roughly 6 feet tall and weighed around 200 pounds. His brown eyes and brown hair. He was wearing tan corduroy pants and a wine-colored leather jacket when he disappeared. Barbara Garlick, William's wife, told the Associated Press that the last time she heard from William was September 13th, 1982, when he reached Bangor, Maine, to say he was headed to the town of Alton to collect the $22,000 debt. At the time, Barbara Garlick thought the men were heading to Maine to collect just $2,000. In August 1984, Barbara, living as a single mother, filed for separate support from William in Worcester County Probate Court, citing William's disappearance. Coming up, authorities find a man in Maine who might have some answers on what happened to John and William. When William Garlick's Corvette was discovered abandoned on September 14th, 1982 at the Bangor Mall in Bangor, Maine by mall security, the steering wheel was cut, the ignition was destroyed, and it appeared someone tried hot wiring the car. The inside of the vehicle was torn apart, and police found 2 men's jackets, believed to be William's leather jacket and whatever John V.J. Joyce was wearing. On the driver's seat of the vehicle was William's wallet and identification. After discovering William's Corvette, Maine State Police alerted the DEA, the FBI, and the U.S. Marshal's Office. Officials from these 3 federal authorities traveled to Bangor to take over the investigation. Roughly 3 weeks later, in early October 1982, Maine State Police said it was still too early to consider the disappearances as a possible homicide case, and were only investigating it as a missing person case. State Police Sergeant Ralph Pinkham told the Associated Press that William and John had either been victims of crime or had created a smokescreen to make everyone believe they're dead, and instead just dropped off the radar. By June 1984, more than a year and a half after they disappeared, law enforcement theorized that William and John were killed. Federal authorities believe they were lured to Maine under false pretenses, a fake drug deal to take John and William by surprise. According to the Associated Press, in December 1984, a memo from U.S. Attorney Timothy Woodcock to a federal judge in Maine stated, "The federal government believes both Joyce and Garlick were murdered." A few months after John and William went missing in September 1982, law enforcement traveled to Worcester to speak with John's wife, Lori. Lori had contacted the DEA, expressing concern about John's fate. According to the Telegram and Gazette, the DEA spoke with Lori Joyce about the events leading up to John and William's trip to Maine, and whether or not the DEA thought there was a chance of finding him dead or alive. And while Lori Joyce may have been used to speaking with federal authorities about her husband, it was William Garlick's wife, Barbara, who gave law enforcement the only thing even resembling a break in the case. In early 1985, Barbara Garlick told the Associated Press that 27-year-old Mark White of Hudson, Massachusetts, may know what happened to William and John. Barbara said in September 1982, William and John were heading to a mobile home park in Alton, Maine, where Mark White lived at the time. Barbara said they were going to collect money from White that she believed he owed Joyce from a cocaine deal. Authorities believed Mark White was the only one that might have been able to give them some idea about John and William's whereabouts. White was arrested in 1985 and sentenced to 2 years in prison for possession of a firearm. But it appears authorities didn't learn much from White. No trace of John or William was ever found. Nearly 41 years later, John V.J. Joyce Jr. and William Garlick are still missing. The Maine State Police still consider their disappearance an active investigation. Both men are listed in the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System. If they are alive today, William would be 67 years old, and John would be 73 years old. Thank you for listening. I'm Dan Yeager. If you enjoyed listening to this episode, please consider clicking the like button for us. And if you subscribe, the next episodes will show up in your feed. Click the bell on the right and select all, and you'll get notifications of when the next episode is ready. If you have any thoughts you'd like to share, please leave them in the comments below. We do read them all and respond to as many as we can. Anyone with information about what happened to William Garlick and John V.J. Joyce Jr. are asked to contact the Worcester Police Detective Bureau at 508-799-8651 or send an anonymous text to 274-637. Write TIP WPD plus your message, or send an anonymous web-based message at worcesterma.gov/police. Come back on Tuesday as Season 3 of Unsolved Worcester continues with the disappearance of 5-month-old Marlon Santos in November 1998. Marlon went missing from the home of his foster parents on Eastern Avenue. Marlon's foster parents waited 2 days to report him missing to the Worcester Police Department. Be sure to visit Unsolved Worcester on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Unsolved Worcester. Listen to all episodes for free at unsolvedworcester.com and on podcast streaming platforms including Spotify, Apple, Audible, and more. Special thanks to the Worcester Public Library, the Worcester Police Department, the City of Worcester, Ron Scott at New England Sky Picks, and our sponsors for making this possible. Information on the disappearances of William Garlick and John V.J. Joyce was gathered from multiple resources, including the Telegram and Gazette, Worcester Magazine, the Boston Globe, the Associated Press, Maine State Police, the Doe Network, the National Missing and Unidentified Person System, and more. The Unsolved Worcester podcast music is provided by Tom LaBelzik of the Worcester Jazz Collective. This episode of Unsolved Worcester is written and produced by Pat Sargent. Drone footage provided by New England Sky Picks. Videography and editing by Colin Turner. Sponsorship information announcer Chandler Walsh. Be sure to check out the video for this episode with exclusive aerial views and more on our Unsolved Worcester YouTube page. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't miss another episode. Click the notification button to get alerts when new episodes of Unsolved Worcester drop. This program is supported in part by a grant from the Worcester Arts Council and the National Endowment for the Arts. Find out more about how National Endowment for the Arts grants impact individuals and communities. Visit www.arts.gov.